Hi, Raphael,
Hi,
Kate, how are you?
we're doing well. How are you?
Oh, great. I had your show. It was always on my to watch list. I was aware of it. I was speaking with actually the publicist for season one. I'm going to watch that. And I never quite felt ready. Finally, I gave it a watch, early pandemic, and I was just so moved, so devastated, but also joyous. And then, I go backwards to your previous work, all into Bojack. But it just felt like it was like the right time. And now with season two, it again feels like that. So, how do you feel about that idea of liminal spaces, like that maybe we're in one right now?
I love that. I love that idea. And I love the idea of people finding art when they need to find it or when it's speaking to them or when it's right for them. I mean, it makes me feel like that then art has a kind of a life of its own and it will come to you when it's meant to come to you. So I mean, I love that as part of your story.
Hmm. How has it felt to put, so many personal elements into the show? Does that feel cathartic? Do you feel like, as a process of a viewer, I'm absorbing it all? When you're putting it in, how does that feel?
At first I was pretty nervous about it and a little bit reticent. And then now I'm just like, oh, here are my guts. Look at my guts.
Yeah, I
It's
think it can be dangerous or scary sometimes to care so much about the work that you make. And that, especially for both of us coming from television and not always getting to put so much of ourselves into things, there's a little bit of safety sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm just making this thing for these guys or for that network or whatever. And like, if it sucks, whatever, it's not my problem. And there's something very vulnerable about being like, no, here's the thing that I actually care a lot about. And if people hate it, it's like, I can't hide behind anything because this is as naked and pure as I am. So it can be very scary, but it's also been so much more rewarding when people take it and go, oh, this I have this too. This is like me. I understand this. It's a very magical thing.
How do you find the funny in it? I mean, these are funny shows. This is a funny series. I laughed a lot at it. I felt so, I finished it, but I felt so devastated, but I still laughed a lot. So how do you find that balance?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like a rhythm or poetry to it. It's a feeling thing more than a logical thing, where it feels
Mhm.
like, oh, we've just expressed a lot of emotion, and now having a little bit of humor to undercut that and kind of relieve a lot of that tension would feel right here. That it would make sense right here to do that. And maybe that's just kind of through experience of writing that you find that pattern and rhythm. But I believe, I know Raphael believes this too, that sort of like the deeper and darker you go with the human experience and exploration of it, kind of the further in this direction you can go with the comedy, and that actually they help strengthen each other. They help each other pop when you kind of play them against each other. It's almost like writing music in terms of tones, tonalities of experience and feeling.
I I also think for me specifically, it's a Jewish thing. Like
Mm.
I think it's very much a part of my upbringing and my culture that we find humor in pain and vice versa. One of my favorite jokes, I'll try to tell this as quickly as I can, because I do think it's relevant, is a Nazi officer is driving down the street and he sees a bearded Jewish man, and he tells his driver to pull over. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. And he shouts out at the Jew, "You there? Who is the enemy of the German people?" And the Jew knows the correct answer, and so he says, "The Jews and the bicycle riders." And the Nazi is confused, and he says, "Why the bicycle riders?" And the Jew says, "Why the Jews?"
Mm.
So that I think is a very funny joke, but there's also so much pain in that, right? And so much hurt and fear that allows that to be funny. And so I think that has been trickled down on me from generations, and I think that kind of goes into almost everything that I work on.
Just to quickly say that we're doing this on Pesach, the blood of our ancestors, and
Yes.
exploring the family trauma just seems oddly appropriate. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to say thank you because I really enjoyed speaking with you, and the work is so tremendous. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the questions.